with Ashley and Misha.
Okay. So today we're going to be talking about nutrition. We all know that training is important to an athlete's performance. However, nutrition is just as important, if not more important.
Let's talk about what nutrition is.
So nutrition involves the 5 processes, which are ingestion, digestion, absorption, transport, and metabolism.
It involves the intake of utilization of food substances. It is the key for growth, energy, and metabolism regulation.
There are 2 different kinds of nutrients, macronutrients and micronutrients. Vitamins and minerals are micronutrients, and carbohydrates, proteins, and fats are macronutrients. Today we'll be focusing on macros.
Carbohydrates are branches of sugar molecules, and they come from plant sources. There are 2 types, simple and complex. Simple have short branches, while complex have long branches. Complex carbs are lower glycemic index and are healthier.
We got some examples here today.
Yeah. You want to start with the simple?
Yes.
So, those would be the cookies.
The good stuff.
Right. Everybody loves cookies. And the complex will be the veggies and tomatoes.
You have to use them. It's recommended that the average person gets at least 129 grams per day. However, an athlete may need to consume more depending on their sport.
Carbohydrates are necessary for aerobic endurance activities and are less of a priority for resistance training.
As a workout gets closer, an athlete should consume simpler carbohydrates because they're easier to break down. And then 30 minutes before competition, they should not consume any carbohydrates.
But 1 hour after training, the body is very receptive to carbs, and so an athlete should use that time to replenish the glycogen stores.
Have you ever heard of carb loading? Well, it can actually be very beneficial for endurance athletes. It is depletion of carbs days before an event, and then hypercompensation right before.
Now, let's look at proteins. Proteins are chains of amino acids. They primarily come from animals, but can come from plants also.
Lean meats, which I have an example here, such as turkey burgers, which are delicious, are healthier, while red meats, such as beef, are not as healthy. Lost my spot. Okay.
It's recommended that a person consumes 1.2 to 1.7 grams a day. Many Americans put too much emphasis on their consumption of proteins and actually overconsume. Therefore, athletes should be aware of how much they are getting because it takes a lot of energy to break it down.
I want to make a quick correction. 1.2 to 1.7 grams per kilogram per day.
Okay, sorry.
Definitely need a little more than that. And last but not least, we have our fats. And fats are composed of fatty acid chains with the most basic form being the triglyceride. And I know that most people don't want fats. We want the bikini body. But it is very important for athletes.
Athletes also need fat. 20 to 35% of their total energy intake should be fats. An example would be the yolk in an egg. That's the fatty part.
It has been proven that trained athletes generally rely more on fat. Their consumption should be 1/3 saturated fat, 1/3 monounsaturated, and 1/3 polyunsaturated.
However, unlike carbs, athletes should not practice fat loading because it is known to cause gastrointestinal issues. Sorry.
We do not want that. Before we go, we want to briefly touch on hydration. Pretty important. We don't want coffee for hydration.
Yes.
Water would be much better. Athletes experience a great amount of fluid loss when training and in competition, mostly through sweating, but evaporation and excretion also play a role.
So, it's very important that athletes drink a lot of water. and keep their electrolytes balanced with like Gatorade. So.
Well, that's all we've got for today. Go to our website and check it out. Tomorrow we've got biomechanics.